All right, welcome to 1 Million Cups, everybody. It's a little past 9, so we'll go ahead and get started. Who's here for the first time? Awesome. So 1 Million Cups, what is 1 Million Cups? We meet on a weekly basis, same time, same place, 9 a.m. every Wednesday morning here at Kaufman. Sometimes we're over in the labs. Honestly, we're at the size now with how many people we have come that we kind of have to be in this room. So what do we do at 1 Million Cups? We give 2 entrepreneurs each week the opportunity to present their company to you, teach you about what they're doing right now, what challenges they're coming up against, what their business model is, and so on and so forth. And then there's 20 minutes of Q&A where you get to engage with the entrepreneurs on the stage, ask them questions, try to learn from them, and then they get to learn from you. So basic format, we try to keep it very simple. We try to get directly to the point of engaging and learning from the entrepreneurs and from the community. We are a community of entrepreneurs, and I'm actually an entrepreneur myself. There's 3 community volunteers. I'm one of them. I'm George Brooks, and there's Mike and John, and then of course Nate leading the show around here, going to cities throughout the nation. Right now there's probably several hundred people that are meeting around the nation on Wednesday mornings and a couple other days throughout the week, I think. Is it always Wednesdays? It's always Wednesdays. He's got it down. A couple things real quick. If you guys haven't heard, the Dream Big America voting is open right now. And so we've got one of our local entrepreneurs, MyEd Match, is one of the opportunities for them to basically be voted as one of the top companies in the nation through the radio broadcast that they're doing. So if you get a chance, we really are not sure how long the voting stays open. So if you get a chance, it's not great mobile optimized, but you can try to get to it, of dreambigamerica.us. We'd love if you guys would go and vote for your Kansas City company. They're the company on the left when you open up the website. So open it up and cast your vote for them as they're moving through on Dream Big. So let's go ahead and get started. I don't think there's any other major announcements this morning. Oh, some real quick housekeeping things. Thank you to Kaufman. This is a great facility. We all love it. And to say thank you, we just try to pick up after ourselves. So as much as possible, if you can pick up your cups, take them back to the back, put them on the end. If you have something in your seat, please take it with you. These guys have printed all this material to hand out, and look at what these companies are doing, but make sure that you pick up your spot as you leave. So let's go ahead and get started. Today we have 2 great entrepreneurs, AutoSwaprz and your tax hero. AutoSwaprz, I've got a chance to see as they were going through the, I just completely blanked. I always think of it as the cave. Yes, thank you. And so they were going through and they were able to present there, and I was really excited to see what the problem that they were solving of trying to find vehicles and find places for retailers or dealerships to be able to list their vehicles. So I would really, really like to see how they're changing this marketplace, and I think that this is something that they're doing. So very much what we do here is we're a community that likes to welcome entrepreneurs, so why don't we welcome Joe and Max to the stage. Thanks, guys.
Hi, good morning. So I'm Max Summey, I'm the CTO of AutoSwaprz, and this is our CMO, John Six. We're really happy and excited to be here this morning to get to tell everybody at 1 Million Cups what we're doing. So thank you all so much for coming. So we're AutoSwaprz.com, and we're building a technology platform to fix the way that people buy cars online. So let's look at what's wrong with the current online automotive marketplaces. And let's start with the problems for the car buyer. It's hard to find what you want. There's too little of the right things. There are thousands of missing local deals, and there's too much of the wrong things. These sites are cluttered, confusing, and they're full of advertisements. Additionally, search results are skewed based on premium features like featured listings. Is the size of a dealer's advertising budget really relevant to you when you're looking for a car? Dealers are having some problems too. Customers aren't finding what they want, so of course their cars aren't being found, at least not by the right people. And they're paying a fortune for these services, regardless of results or even the exposure that they're getting. And when the results aren't coming, they're upsold expensive premium features, such as feature listings, which further distort the search for the user. So the marketplaces are creating noise with advertisements, encouraging dealers to create noise with feature listings, and they're not really serving the interests of the user or the dealer very well at all. So we asked ourselves, what's the cause of these problems? What's underlying this disconnect? And the answer is simple. It's a business model that doesn't have the interests of the dealerships or the interests of the consumer at heart. These current marketplaces are relying on advertisements for revenue, and their cost to dealers is completely disconnected from the value that they provide. Why make it easier to find what you want when making it harder means more ad impressions? Why continually improve your product when people are going to pay you regardless of whether or not it's just passable or exceptional? Motivations aren't there for them to provide a better service, so we changed this. We removed the advertisements and we instituted result-based pricing. We're doing for the automotive industry what pay-per-click did for online advertising, except instead of pay-per-click, it's pay-per-lead. We're only charging for phone calls, emails, and people walking on the lot. And it's working. In the last 3 months, we've gone from 0 cars to over 14,000 vehicles. We're on track to have more inventory than Cars.com and AutoTrader by the end of August. So let's look at this landscape again. Dealers have no barrier to entry, so our site can list just about everybody. And this is great for the shopper because they have access to thousands of additional local deals. Because there are no ads, our interface can focus on being helpful instead of generating ad impressions. Because there are no featured listings, search is organic, which once again helps users get to the car they're looking for faster. For dealers, they're getting local relevant leads because our site focuses on helping users find what they want. And the dealers are only paying for exactly what they get, so there's no barrier to entry to use our service. And because we want them to win, we have a reason to help dealers by investing in better tools for them because it helps our bottom line as well. It's a win for car buyers, it's a win for auto dealerships, and this is just barely scratching the surface of what's possible. So our founder, Chris Sink, couldn't be here today. He's out of town on business, and I can't tell you exactly where he is or what he's doing. But I can tell you a bit about him. Chris has been designing UX UI for over 10 years for companies like Sony Pictures, GNC, Petco, and AdKnowledge. Chris is the reason our technology looks as good as it does and is as easy to use as it is. My background's in enterprise systems, application architecture, and development. And I met Chris through BetaBlocks in the first KC startup crawl. At the time, I was working for a private venture capital firm based in the Bay Area. And anyways, I liked Chris's idea. We clicked as a team, and after a few meetings, I left the VC firm to work on this full time. I knew John from a previous project, and I'll let him tell you a little bit about himself.
I'm John Six, and I'm from Connecticut. After talking to Max and Chris on the phone about AutoSwaprz, I took a look at the site and I was blown away. I realized that what they were doing was going to make a huge impact in the market, and that was just an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. So I sold the shares of my last business and I bought a one-way ticket to Kansas City to prove the concept, to prove that it worked. And after the first week out, I was able to sell dealerships our product. I realized I wasn't going anywhere, so I brought the rest of my family out, and we couldn't be happier with Kansas City. Before I pass it back to Max, we'd like to thank one of our newest partners, Baron BMW. They are bringing some cars down today for you guys to look at. Anybody who's in the market for BMW, or even if you aren't, take a look afterwards. They're out there. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, thanks, John. So that's our idea, and that's where we are, and this is our team. So if you think what we're doing is worthwhile, we'd love your help. First, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and tell us what you think. We need help getting the word out, and we really want your feedback. Second, if you know a car dealer, we'd love to connect with them. We're here to put customers on their lot, and we're not making a dime until we do. We'd love the opportunity to meet with them, walk them through our technology, and learn more about their needs. And finally, we're looking to build relationships with potential investors, particularly somebody who has experience building a national consumer brand. What we're doing is working, and we're looking for mentorship and resources to help get this to the next level. So this is our contact information. It's just Max, Chris, or John at AutoSwaprz.com. We'd love to hear from you, and thank you for listening.
So this is where you get your chance to ask questions. So if you have a question, we'll have some mics going around the room. John and the guys want to grab the other ones. And so raise your hand and we'll come to you and get started. Right here.
Yeah, could you by any chance add a feature where you can select how much miles per gallon you want to get out of your car? That's the biggest thing I'm dealing with right now is I'm trying to find the most fuel efficient car I can, and most sites don't even target that as an issue.
Yeah, that's a good question. We can add that feature, and it is a good idea. It's probably something we will be considering in the future. We're a young company, and our to-do list is about a mile long. So, but yeah, that's definitely something we can do.
Hey guys, I'll ask a question real quick. So I've checked out your site, so it's buy, sell cars, but then the swap portion, can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, I'm not really sure how that works, but could you talk about that feature and what you think, why that's so important to you and where that could go?
Yeah, that's one of the things that, one of the ideas we had is kind of setting us apart from everybody else. We have the ability, kind of like on Craigslist where you can barter for things. Well, the idea here is that you can actually swap a vehicle if you want to. So you can list it for nothing. You're not going to sell it for it's a $0 price, and then you put in there what you like to get for it. Our founder, Chris Zink, he's done this numerous times with his motorcycles and other things. He's traded in, motorcycle for a GTO or something else. So that kind of idea, we don't know of any other options that these people have. There's a lot of enthusiasts who like to do that kind of thing. So we thought we'd add that.
Real quickly, before this next question, if you're the owner of a white Land Rover and you're parked over in the Kaufman Gardens, your alarm is going off. Back to questions right here.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on your revenue model, specifically the transaction basis for the dealers? In other words, if somebody walks onto the lot, how do you track the validity that the transaction took place, and how do you guys get paid?
That's a great question. Well, currently we can track phone calls and emails, and we're still working through some ideas on how to accurately track people walking on the lot as a result of an interaction with our site. So that's something that's sort of in the works right now. We could rely on dealer reporting, but usually dealers don't keep good track of those things internally about where leads come from and the result of those leads as well. So,
Over here on your right.
Actually, I have two questions. So I haven't been on your website truly, so it might be on there. I haven't checked. First of all, how much do you charge for all of those features like the phone calls, emails, and people actually coming into the lot? And the second one is, do you only work with like big certified dealerships, or do you work with little small community ones as well?
That's actually a really great question, both of those. We're still working out the specific details of our pricing model. Right now, we're not really focusing on figuring that out precisely. We're more focused on just building the best product we can to provide an incredible value. Obviously, we'd like to make this as affordable as possible because, in regards to your second question, we want to have absolutely every car for sale in the world on our site, and we want to make it really easy for people to find those. So we want the small community dealerships, we want everybody, the independent 20, 30 car dealerships, to be able to list with us without it breaking the bank. Some of these competitors are charging, $500 for just a basic be on our site package, regardless of whether or not people find you, regardless of whether or not anybody contacts you. And we want to take that risk away so that the dealerships can win and they can get their cars out there, and the consumers can win by having more to choose from.
Question right back here.
Good morning. I've looked at your site. I can't really tell whether the price that's listed for these vehicles is a preferred price, a no-haggle price. Does the client who's using the website perceive any advantage of some pre-negotiation that may make them come to your site because this is the lowest price or a preferred price?
Right. No. The short answer is no. The prices that we list on our dealerships are on our pages and our listings are the same prices that the dealers send us through their inventory provider. Whether or not they choose to advertise a low price or whether or not they choose to advertise the MSRP, we don't have any control over. But that is a good question, and that's something that we definitely consider.
Another question in the middle.
Okay.
As far as the postings go on your website, is that the end user doing it, the dealers and the individuals putting the cars, or are you doing that internally? And if you're doing it internally, what are your plans for scalability?
Right. So when individuals list, they use our interface on the web. It's a couple-step process of entering all their vehicle information and then creating, posting, adding photos, etc. For dealers, obviously that's not desirable because dealers oftentimes have hundreds of listings, and if they have multiple locations, sometimes they have thousands of listings. So what we've actually done is we built a technology to integrate with all of the inventory management systems that we've come across so far, and this is a technology that can scale and easily adapt to other inventory management systems. And what this does is it simply updates our inventory as often as the inventory in their system updates, and we update the listings with photos and all the latest information, and we pull sold listings off the site so they don't show up in search.
Question right back here.
Yeah, hi. A follow-up on the pricing issue. I know you're looking for a streamlined look on your site. How are you going to balance that with additional resources? For example, on pricing, adding some a reference to Kelley Blue Book pricing, adding links out to reviews, that sort of thing.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, are you going to add resources to your site that would allow people to see the price that the vehicle is being offered for, and to show, for example, a Kelley Blue Book listing so that they could get an industry average of that? Are you going to offer links out to additional resources like like reviews by AutoTrend and whatever magazines?
Yeah, that makes sense now. It's something we're considering. We do want to add as many resources to our site to help users make informed decisions and to help them make them quickly and easily. So that is something that we're considering doing, is integrating with third-party providers about industry statistics. That being said, we want to keep the focus on making the site usable and making search a core feature. So we're still sort of working out how to balance like the enormity of the information that we could put on there, and the central things the user is looking for.
Question over here.
Hey, this is hot. When are you going to put some Jaguars on there? And secondly, are you planning on expanding outside of Kansas City? And what would you consider charging for delivery charges? Like, would you get in on the cost where you get a kickback fee as well as the dealer for having it delivered? Say we find a car in St. Louis that's over 300 miles, I think. Yeah, anyway, for us to have it delivered to us. And then do you have the site set up that they could pay for the car online?
I guess the way that I answer that question is we don't deliver the cars. We don't sell the cars directly.
Well, I mean, you can get a service, but I'm saying, is that in the plans to have that eventually? I mean, are you planning to expand outside of Kansas City?
Yes, we are.
Okay, because like they'll be delivering. And then also, how do we get dealerships on there? Because I have a relative who has a dealership.
Well, the way we get dealerships on is it's actually really simple. We just talk to them. They would talk to John. So, does that answer your question? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We already have our foot into St. Louis at this point. What we're trying to do right now is get as close to 100% of Kansas City's inventory as we can, so that we can have a really good product here that we can prove. But we already have our foot into St. Louis at this point, and as soon as we feel like it's right, we're going to head down there and start bringing more. Yeah, I think a lot of times, I'm not exactly sure, I'll have to look more into that, but I think a lot of times the dealerships are the ones that are kind of going back and forth with that exchange because they have the physical vehicle on the lot and they're working with the transport companies. But yeah, I'll look into that some more to see if there's some way we can plug in. Yeah.
Another question up front. How are you guys going to drive people to your website?
Well, the same way anybody does, search engine optimization, media, pay-per-click, social marketing, those kinds of things.
Eventually billboard campaigns and other things like that as well. Yeah.
Hey guys, over here on your left. So really excited that you guys are going to St. Louis. We'd love to have you present at 1 Million Cups St. Louis, actually. So that would definitely help you guys get into the market there. All right, the startup life. Like, starting a company is really hard, and you guys are just starting to get traction. So I'd love for you to talk about, there's a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs who are just starting their stuff today. What's one of the greatest things that each of you have learned through this process? And then what's one of the most exciting things that kind of gets you out of bed in the morning?
To the second part of that anyway, for me, it's just the response that I've been getting from dealerships and from people that I talk to, even users. They're just really excited about something new. They look at Cars.com and AutoTrader as necessary evils. They charge a lot of money. They don't always, they're charging to be on the site essentially. And exposure, nationwide exposure isn't necessarily what they want when 90% of their market is in their city. So they're looking at this as refreshing. That's been great, having a great response walking in. I don't get a whole lot of go-aways, no. I flip my iPad around and I tell them what I'm doing and I show them the site and I get to sit down. So that's great. That's been really, really nice. You want to take anything?
Sure. Yeah, I guess the thing that I'm excited about is, we have the opportunity to build a really fantastic product that's a win for everybody. It's not, some business models really aren't lined up properly with the interest of their customer. And that's really exciting for me because it sort of feels like, even if it's just buying cars and selling cars, it's still making the world just a little bit better. And that's really exciting. But the thing that I would say, I learned is kind of that you're never really done and you have to be ready at any moment to pivot and to look at your idea and look at the feedback that you're getting from the marketplace and make adjustments to the product that you're building. And so just the willingness to do that has been
taking a step back away from the wall every now and again is huge because a lot of times we feel like we're stuck and we don't know what to do. We feel like that's it. But taking that step back and looking at it and trying to look at it from a different perspective definitely helps get through those hard times.
Let me ask a question over here as well. Along those same lines, what were the challenges, or what are some of the challenges that you've come up with actually tangibly getting it done, building the product? I know there's a lot of people in here that have ideas. They have a lot of product ideas that they want to build online or on a mobile solution or whatever that is. What did it look like to actually get this thing built?
Sure. Well, I guess the biggest challenge for us as a team is that we all have really high standards for what we build. So just getting something shipped and just saying, okay, it doesn't have to be perfect by, the standards for our work. Like Chris is a designer, UX UI guy, so he's just really picky. And I'm really picky about everything operating 100% correctly with like all the bells and whistles and everything like that. So we're just saying like, okay, so what's the most important thing for our business right now? Well, it's to put something out there and to talk to our customers. And so just getting over our egos and shipping a product regularly and trying to get feedback, I think has been probably one of the most continuing challenges we've had.
Another question to your right. John, you said you want 100% of Kansas City's listings on your site. Just out of curiosity, how many listings do you have now?
Right now we have 14,000 vehicles listed on the site.
What percent of Kansas City is that?
We're probably only about 30%. Now AutoTrader and Cars.com, they have around the same for used cars sake. They have about 14,000 or so in Kansas City. But what I'm finding is a lot of people don't have Cars.com and AutoTrader. There's a lot of dealerships out there that have 200 and fewer vehicles, especially the used car lots. They're not listing with anybody. They're using Craigslist because that's the only free resource that they have, and they can't pay $1,200 a month for the basic packages these guys offer. So there's a lot out there that we can get that the other guys haven't even tapped into. So,
And you guys are doing new and used, right?
new and used, yeah.
Thanks.
Question right here in the middle.
So I looked in the dictionary under integrity and there were no pictures of car dealers. And my Uncle Bud always said, trust in God, but tie your camel. So isn't it a huge hole in your marketing strategy that you have no way to collect from people who just walk on the lot? How do you stop that? And what's to keep CarTrader from cleaning up their website?
Okay, I guess those are two good questions. To the first, That is something that we're working on. We're not planning on relying on dealers reporting these results, but it's a human behavior problem. How do you create a proper incentive to create the reporting that you need? So right now, that is a hole in our strategy, or I guess a hole in our pricing model, but it's something we believe we can fix, and we've got some ideas that we're refining to see if they work. What was the second question again?
What's to keep AutoTrader from cleaning up the graphics of their website?
Right. Okay, so there's nothing to stop them from, say, making the interface just a little bit cleaner or better, except for the fact that they rely on advertisements for revenue. So they have tied into their site design a huge revenue stream. And as we know, it's very difficult for large companies, you know, for the CEO to go to the board and say, I've got this great idea, but we're going to start making about, say, 100 million less a year for a while. So that's kind of the thing that we think is going to give us a lot of leeway and a lot of time to get there before they do.
Okay, so wrapping up here on your left, we always ask the last question of what can the community do for you? You've got 200 plus people, the room filled up while you were here, and 200 plus people that are here wanting to learn from you, and you having the opportunity to reach out to them. What can we as a community do for you to help you guys grow? I know you had a list of things, but even beyond that, what are maybe some of the intangibles as well?
I guess the thing we really want is just to sort of engage with everyone here. We want to get to know you and want to know what you think. That's the main thing. But also I'd say we want to know how we can help everyone here. We know everybody else here is in varying stages of entrepreneurship and starting their company, and we want to be a useful resource to you also. And we also, want your help helping to, keep Kansas City on the map as the technology capital of the country. So.
Great, thank you guys. Good job.
That was awesome. I love being able to get up here every week and enjoy the presentations with you guys of what's going on in Kansas City and the ground that people are moving. Like, that's a concept I would have never thought of, and I love buying and trading vehicles. So thank you guys for making my life easier. So we have a quick announcement here. Jonathan Pirelli, you raise your hand, get my attention or something if you want to come up here. Give you a couple of minutes. Here he comes. All right, so Jonathan is in from DC, actually, and he runs The Fort, which is an accelerator out there, and they are working on a documentary about the accelerator process, and I'm going to give him just a couple minutes to talk about that project.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Jonathan Pirelli with Fortify Ventures. We've had 2 accelerator classes, and one was 12 companies that raised $5 million at our demo day last year. The second class just finished, and 5 companies were... I guess they're still raising money, but they were followed by a film crew, which people have asked, like, why would you bring a film crew in to follow an accelerator? And the reason is that there's so many accelerators popping up, but there's no training program for accelerators and the people that run them. So we really enjoyed having the film crew about 80% of the time. About 20% of the time, we'll see what they end up editing. But there's an authentic documentary that will be shared throughout the world. And it will come with infographics about fundraising, cap tables, hiring, firing, marketing, using metrics and analytics. It's going to be pretty exciting when it releases this fall. And it's a series, so there'll be 7 or 8 of them. If you go to startupland.tv, you can learn more about what they're doing now. And we're just really excited about the fact that we'll be able to help educate and inspire entrepreneurs throughout the world that don't get into accelerators. So how many folks in the room have applied to accelerators? Oh, come on, be honest. So 99% of people that apply actually don't get in. And it's the other 1% that we're concerned about. And so check out startupland.tv. And if anyone ever comes to DC, check out Fortify Ventures. Happy to host. We're at 1776, you may have heard of, which is sort of the campus hub for entrepreneurship in DC now. And really excited to be here at the mothership. Don't take it for granted. What happens out of this building inspires and educates people all over the world. And so it's really quite an honor to be here. So thanks a ton.
Jonathan, thank you.
Hey, John, can I interrupt? Can you say the URL of that again? Startupland.tv. Okay.
Startupland.tv. Guys, whenever you guys have friends and other contacts and stuff that are coming in from around the country that are coming in, want to get connected and stuff, feel free to let us know so we can help integrate people into Kansas City. Like, we're the Midwest. We love being friendly and we love being able to connect with people. So thanks for that. One more announcement. We've got Venture Fridays Speed Meet on Fridays at Red Nova Labs at 4 p.m. Just wanted to throw that reminder out there for everybody. So, all right, without any further delay, our next presenter is Tax Hero, and I'm actually really excited about their presentation. I've been able to learn a little bit more about what they do over the last couple of weeks. And if any of you are like me, I really, really dread tax day and having to put together all the information for taxes, especially as an entrepreneur. I feel like I've got so many different files and things in different buckets for the companies that I do, and then my own personal taxes. These guys are an integrated solution that helps take care of and manage all of your receipts and all of your information throughout the year, and help you take care of your taxes when that comes time for tax day. So without any further ado, Tax Hero. So thank you, guys.
Wow, it looks a lot different from up here on the stage. We decided to, there's so much I want to say, I'm going to try, I've been given a limited period of time. So the one thing I want you to understand is I'm thankful for all of you people being here today. I'm glad that you came out. What you're going to see is something that's specifically catered to self-employed and entrepreneurs, because let's face it, how many of us here like the idea of keeping track of all of the stuff that you need to keep track of when it comes to your taxes? By show of hands, is there anybody? Only one. Only one. Okay, bottom line's this. My name's Joe Zaniga. I've been in and around the tax business for about 17 years, and ultimately I've had the good fortune of working with some of the best and brightest minds in the United States as it relates to taxes. And over that period of time, I saw a reoccurring problem, which was essentially what taxpayers face almost every single time it comes to tax time. And we'll get to that in just a second. But I think this little display here kind of gives you an idea of how fun it is for you as a self-employed to try and keep track of the paper shuffle. So ultimately what it comes down to, I serve now and have served as a corporate officer, a partner, a trustee, and I've advised literally or served small businesses over the years, corporations, small startups, nonprofit foundations, nonprofit organizations, corporations, and so forth. So got a good experience base, but the problem always seemed to be the same. And that was the underlying problem of keeping track of your receipts and your records and being compliant with the IRS in the event of an audit. So what Tax Hero is endeavored to do is to track at the point of contact your receipts, coinciding with reconciling your bank statements. So at the end of the month, you would simply receive something that's workable, and then at the end of the year, and we do that on a monthly basis, and then at the end of the year, we would prepare your tax returns based on that information that you've provided on a daily basis. We have an app, but I won't get into that. I'll let Tim cover that. Ideally, what we do, we only deal with business. So we're not in competition with some other folks around town that have large buildings in the Power and Light District. That's not our business. We don't want that. We want strictly businesses, because I understand that that's really where my passion's at. That's really where I thrive. That's really what I want to serve, because I like the ideas of being in and around business and seeing their back doors and helping them get out of that paper shuffle that we all face as business owners. So with that said, since all we do is business at tax time, ultimately what you're dealing with, the problem that I saw reoccurring over the years was very simple. People would rush in at tax time, they'd have limited receipts, documentation, their hair was on fire, they didn't know what was deductible, what wasn't deductible, they'd be asking questions that they ultimately should have been asking throughout the year, but because we all get busy, and we think that taxes are something that we'll deal with on an annual basis, ultimately, it costs the taxpayers literally thousands and thousands of dollars in lost deductions. So, very simply put, I saw an underlying problem. I decided to do something about it, and so I designed a system that made it simple, easy and accurate to capture all of those images and data, bank statements, receipts, documentation, and so forth that would be related to an IRS audit or what you would go through in the event of an audit. And doing it in advance so that you're compliant as you go through each day of the week, each week of the month, month of the year, and so on. And then at tax time, instead of going to dig into your shoe boxes and your boxes of receipts and your console in your car and your purse that's probably 90% receipts and a couple of bucks of cash in there and so forth. So we just made it simple. We eliminated the paper shuffle. So I think the biggest thing was the record-keeping system was designed to do something functional, and that was to basically hold as a receptacle all of the information that you needed at one central point come tax time, or actually as you go through the course of the week and month and year. With that said, the concept was simple. We presented some seminars for self-employeds and entrepreneurs to teach them the basics about accounting so that they understood what they needed to do. This was void of any accounting software, any tracking system. It was simply a receptacle to put everything in one central location. As a result of doing that, that worked extremely well, but it was a paper product, and we still were missing the key piece, which was the point of contact. So when you got a receipt, what did you do with it? Anybody? What do you do with your receipts? Throw them away. That's pretty much the, that or you throw them away. That or you ultimately end up putting it in your back pocket. You know, it's really crazy. Case in point, I had a lady that came in quite a few years ago. Her husband was a HVAC or an HVAC guy, and they had gotten behind and they hadn't filed in several years. As a result of doing that, she came in literally with a laundry basket full of records, bank statements, receipts, and it took our CPAs probably the better part of about 3.5 weeks or more to put all of that information into a digestible format to prepare a tax return, to prepare the annual returns for her. And what I learned in that experience was there's got to be a better way. Has to be a better way. If that same person were to walk into Tax Hero's office today, we would be able to process that information within about 72 hours, not 3 weeks, 3 days instead of 3 weeks. So with that said, I'd like to present the anatomy of a receipt. The anatomy of a receipt is very simple. When you go to dinner, the idea of the
I'm
dinner,
way ahead of you because you're well over 6 minutes.
Yes, yeah. I'll be brief and done. So it's only 6 minutes, was that all? No. The idea, the anatomy of a receipt is very simple. You guys go to dinner, you take the receipt, instead of throwing it away, normally what ends up happening is you keep it, you end up putting it in your back pocket, you end up going into the car, you put it in your console, and if it hasn't been faded by over 1 million cups of coffee, you just take it, you get it home, you set it on your dresser by your keys, and then ultimately what ends up happening is they start to stack up. And they stack up, and they stack up, until they get so full that they start falling off your dresser, and you got to take them off the dresser, and you have to put them into a basket, and then what you have at tax time is a total mess all over the floor. So the idea is very simple. In keeping track of your, we had a little device we were going to use as a, so this is what ends up happening. So guys, the simple fact is that if you don't keep track of your receipts, you're losing literally thousands of dollars on an annual basis that you could put back in your pocket. Anybody want to save a couple $1,000? Okay, with that said, I'd like to introduce my partner and my team member and co-founder, Timothy Phelps. He is the manager of Hero Operations, and I'll let him take over now. Timothy?
What we have is an app. Essentially, you take a picture of your receipt, you send it into our accountants. We do the accounting for you. We categorize the document that you send us, do your monthly statements for you. All of it's done on the back end so that all you do is touch that receipt one time. It comes to us, one-touch taxes, IRS audit ready. Of course, we have a lot of people looking for investors. It's going to have investment capital ready because you can take those documents right where you need them, which we find to be a problem with startup companies, right? So we hope that you guys enjoy our product. We'd like to show you more, answer questions for you. Bring Joe back, and we'll do that.
Thank you very much. Question up front to your right here.
So you take a picture of your receipt, you email it in, you text it in, is it through an app? How's that work?
Great question. We have an app, and it's as simple as turning the app on, taking a picture with the receipt. It comes into us, and we do all the work for you. There is a email drop box as well. You can just email it to us, forward emails with an attachment. You can forward an email that doesn't have an attachment, and we'll get it. You can also drop it in the mail and mail it to us. We've got a crazy cool scanner that does it all really fast, and we can do it as well. And we have some folks that do that. Several people that it's just easier to put it all in a box and bring it to us, and we'll do that as well.
Follow-up question to that. If most people are like me, they hate pictures just sitting on their phone that they're not going to go look at again.
Sure.
In the app, if I take a picture of a receipt, does it save to my phone, or do I have to go in and delete it, or is it out of sight, out of mind? You guys take care of it.
It does save to your phone. One of the things that we're talking about doing is the next version of the app. To be honest with you, the app that we had built was a prototype, and there's a lot of things we want to do with the next version. That being said, it is also nice to have a copy of the receipt if you decided you weren't able to maintain a copy of it, just in case. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to have it.
Question here on your right.
I have a long-standing relationship with the firm and the individuals that do my taxes, but I love the idea of being able to take a picture of that receipt. Is there any way you guys could just handle just the record-keeping end of it and then generate that document and then I take it to my tax person, or is it a one and done? You guys could do all the receipts and accounting and the taxes. If I have you do my accounting or keep track of my receipts, do I have to have you do my taxes? And number two, what is your pricing model?
Okay, I'll handle the first question. Very simply, this is a closed system, and the reason that it's a closed system is very simple. The problems that I've seen in the past is that if you're dealing with a taxpayer or a business owner, something gets lost in the shuffle, and ultimately somebody ends up paying, and it's the taxpayer. So over the years, I've decided to absolutely not have any other institution prepare the returns. So we prepare the corporate returns or the business returns, and also prepare the personal returns for that business owner or taxpayer. And yes, every once in a while, if they want to bring in their mom or their grandmother, I mean, there are exceptions to that rule, but predominantly 99% of the time, it is strictly going to be the business owner and the business owner's personal taxes. And the reason for that is very simple. Something gets lost in translation between the gap of someone else doing the books and someone else preparing the taxes, because you'll see things that you wouldn't normally otherwise see. And really, it's about service to the clients and doing the best job that you possibly can. And so ultimately what it comes down to is I'd be doing you a disservice if we did only a portion of that and then you turned it over. Timothy?
We have a monthly plan, and that's the way all of our customers are. So essentially you pay monthly for the service. We deliver you information monthly, so it all works out really well. Additionally, at the end of the year, we already have your information. So on January 1st, we're able to turn and start working on your stuff right away, which is really nice in the corporate and business world. To answer your question, we have essentially 4 different plans, and they start at $89.99, depending on what the product is that you need for your business. And as you guys know, it's not one size fits all. Every business has its own little caveats and differences. And so we kind of need to understand what you have before we can really tell you exactly. But it starts at $89, and for a sole prop in this room that has a small, maybe photography business or whatever, that's what it'll be. And it's really, I think, inexpensive for what we do.
I'd just like to throw in this one thought. Do you think that you're losing $89 a month by trying to do it yourself?
Yeah, that's 2 meals you forgot to keep a receipt on.
Back here to your left.
I love that you're in the crossroads. I'll be able to bike over. As a multiple business owner for over a decade, and a couple of them are registered out of state, will you be able to deal with that? And as well, I have become a self-imposed QuickBooks expert. Can I incorporate that with yours, your system? And you've answered a lot of my questions previous.
Both good questions. First of all, I won't be biking with you. But you can stop by anytime. The answer to your first question is, yeah, we can operate in any of the 50 states in the U.S. In fact, we've got one client who has a foundation, and he's global, and we can operate in multiple currencies as well. So The system that we use will work in any state, and it's no problem whatsoever. The answer to your second question, which was...
Actually, let me throw that out, the QuickBooks. Let me ask you a question. In utilizing the QuickBooks, what do you actually use it for?
It's a check ledger, payroll. Actually, I have a payroll company, which probably a caveat to another question for you, but I'll let you formulate that. But really, it's a check ledger and petty cash and inventory, POs. Basically, I've learned how to use it to my advantage, but it's still root canal.
I can tell you that, and this is nothing against QuickBooks, I had one of my CPAs one year try and work through, and I spent a great deal of money trying to bend QuickBooks to my will as a self-employed business owner, handling multiple businesses, but I wanted it to do a certain number of things. And to say that it was impossible is probably an understatement, so I'll stop there. But the idea is that most people who utilize that particular software use it specifically for check cutting and tracking the checks and making sure that they're semi-reconciled and so forth. Our custom software will not only cut checks, it'll invoice, it'll do a number of things that, payroll, certainly we handle that. And to answer the question about what we do, we are a full service tax and accounting company. Taxes, tax problem resolution, payroll, preparation, entity selection, which I think is a big one. I won't get into that right now, but that's a whole can of worms all in and of itself for new startups, picking the right entity to work out of. And then as you grow, converting to one or the other that would give you some tax advantages. But to answer your question directly, we can handle all that and more. And I think you might be, you'd be tickled Pete about what our system would do over the current version that you're using with QuickBooks.
Another question in the middle.
Hi. It's interesting that you presented your technology first, which is really cool, and gave us the impression that this is what you were selling, but in fact you're selling service and a relationship. And as I'm listening to you now, my question changed like 5 times over the course of that processing. So now I'm wondering, A, scalability, because you've got a heavy back office requirement. Even though you got a super duper scanner, you still have to touch it. And 2, you've got what appears to be a user adoption issue. You have to convince the fella over there that what you offer, because he has to replace it, is going to make his life that much better. And that's a very scary proposition for people who are using something already, and everybody is.
I think that's a great.
Yeah, let me take that. The reality of it is, this gentleman over here is one of very few. Most people that we run into that are this type of person that is our customer don't do very well with QuickBooks or similar products because they're kind of hard to use. That and they take time. And the guy who wants to paint houses for a living, that still has this paperwork and receipts and all the stuff that he buys, simply doesn't want to do paperwork and deal with the daily activity of maintaining the business. He wants to paint houses. That's what he does for a living. That's what he likes to do. So what we want to do is take that out of the person's hands, let them pass it off to us and let us do the work for them. So to answer that question, the guy who loves using QuickBooks probably isn't our customer, to be honest. And if he wants to give up QuickBooks and give up all that work, then we'll do all of it for him for a very low fee, which quite honestly, we'd love to do, even for this fan of QuickBooks. And the software that we use, quite honestly, it lets us do things that you can't do in other software. So we're really happy with the way that it functions within our office because it answers your second piece, which is automation and staffing. We're able to maintain a log every time anybody in our office touches an account. We know how much time they spend in the account. We know how much effort they've made within that account. And we're able to track and log all of that information. And we also are able to automate some of this stuff. Every receipt is touched by a human being. We see every receipt as it goes through. But to be honest with you, we don't type everything that's on a receipt, obviously. We use OCR and other equipment that lets us take time that you would spend doing that and minimize it and use all of our systems and technology to take advantage of having to hire fewer and fewer people to do a lot more work. So the advantage for the end user is that you get a lower price per month because we don't have to hire as many people to accommodate that.
And let me interject this thought. And to the QuickBooks question, try and pull up the receipt on QuickBooks. So if you spent $64.82 last night at a business dinner with a prospective client or an existing client, try the next day, if for some reason you snapped a pic, hit send, you're done, and then ultimately you needed to go back for some reason because maybe you wrote a telephone number on the receipt or for whatever reason, try and pull the actual physical receipt up through a system like that. With ours, literally within 24 hours, that receipt is available for your review. Where this comes into a real play is for construction workers who are constantly going back between the different hardware stores and building shops. They've got the actual image of that receipt so that if for some reason it's laying in the truck that they didn't take that's on the job site and they took something, another vehicle out, they'd still be able to make that exchange and get credit for that based on the software that we're using.
Let's do another question here on the left.
First, I'd like to say you didn't ask for that man's business over there.
You wait.
Or you need to ask him, what do I do to earn your business? Anyway, one thing I would mention, when you're selling this is that as a business owner, you can write off tax preparations, so the $89 doesn't matter one bit.
Now you're working for us. I love it.
Yeah, so as small business owners and stuff in any business, generally we pay our taxes quarterly. Do you have something where you shoot us something saying, hey, on this date you need to pay X amount of dollars? Would you like us to cut the check for you? And also, what would the app cost us when we went to download the app?
Okay, 2 questions. The app, I'll answer that quick because it's easy. The app is absolutely free, but to be honest with you, it won't do you any good without the service. So it's available and you can download it, but until you have the service, it's not useful. The second question was, do you remember?
Second question was related to her, the quarterlies, and I'll take that. I'll take that one. The idea behind the quarterlies, which are coming up, by the way, on the 15th, so you guys got about 5 days, just fair warning. Certainly we can do that. I have a different belief about quarterly payments, so we can get into that at another time. I think they're terribly cumbersome. I think they're very confusing, and it puts a lot of pressure on the business owner to come up with cash in an immediate fashion. So there's other alternatives to that, and that's ultimately what Tax Hero is all about, is not just taking care of your books and records, but helping you make your life better, making it easier, making it simpler for you to be able to go out and do what you love, which is to do whatever it is that you do. And that's, so the answer to the question directly, quarterlies, yes, we can handle that, but there are alternatives to that. Yes, you're still gonna have to pay, but we just break it up through the course of a year.
Question back here to your left.
Hi, I'm interested more in your service than your app, and I do spend a lot of time filing apps and doing QuickBooks myself. But I am a 78-year-old farmstead dairy. I'm the 3rd generation woman owner. I've been audited by the IRS several times. I have a CPA who's leaving me this year after 35 years of service. And I have spent in the last 2 weeks, 3 days, trying to get hold of the federal IRS, who disconnect me every time for a question. Now, I'm agricultural, and I have different income tax needs. Will your company be able to handle everybody's different business entity? And secondly, if I have a question, will you take it when I call?
You want to take that one?
Well, first, yes, we would love your business, and yes, we can help you with any farm-related taxes. That's not an issue whatsoever. So to answer that question, absolutely. As it relates to reaching out to us, we have a ticketing system, so if you call us, we'll open a ticket and we'll help you. We'll maintain it until we know that you're satisfied. So whether that's over the phone or through email, you'll be taken care of. And we can tell you how to talk to the IRS, but to be honest with you, we'd rather three-way you in and help you. So that's the answer to that question. As far as you spending the last several weeks working on getting your stuff together, this is exactly what we talk about. We have customers like this every single day that they want to do the right thing, they want to get it all done. It's just so cumbersome, and the reality of it is, even with great accountants, you still have to put everything together and add it all up and bring it all to them, and we don't want you to do that. Throw it in a box, throw it in a big envelope, put our address on it, mail it to us. We'll take care of it.
And I think the idea, you hit on a critical point. What Tax Hero does in relationship to this gentleman's question is time. We all only have a limited amount of time in each day, and everybody would agree with that. What Tax Hero does, on average, if you just use the app to snap a pic as you're going through a transaction, you'd spend about 5.5 hours a year, 5 to 6 hours a year doing that piece of it. And then we've got everything digitized and it's all available for your view 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. However, what makes it unique is that you don't have to go through your shoebox at the end of the year, which yesterday I was talking to somebody, it takes them an average of 40 to 80 hours to do all of their accounting, because let's face it, if you're in this room and you're self-employed, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because you got to prepare for tax time. And it's crunch time, and you've got to get it done, and the pressure that's put on you for that, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make dollars and cents. So, good question. And yes, we love agricultural.
Another question in the middle.
One quick point and then a question. I always photo my receipts because everyone's doing the thermal receipts and they fade.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Bye-bye if it's in the sun.
And then my question is, what is your plan for exit portability? I've purchased your service. I've been using it. It's not for me. Yet you've got all my documentation for my taxes, which I need to hang on to for
That's a
audits.
great question. And I don't mean to cut you off, but I know there's others and I want to get to it. First of all, and it's the same question, by the way, if you said, what if I have an audit? Because the answer is, we can print it all out, put it in a binder and hand it to you. You can take it to any other accountant or to an audit if you would like. So the answer is, we have everything that you need. And we'll print it out, even if it was 6 months in, we could print it out and give you all your data up to date with all the information that you need. And I say print out, we could provide PDFs or whatever else you need. So to answer your question, we can give it all to you.
I think the other side of that is very critical. What we offer is, since we offer a closed system, is that in the event of a review, we have audit representation services built into our product. That's how much we believe in it, because it's very simple. Why should you do the work? If you get a review, you just fax the notice over, and we'll take care of all the organizations, and then we'll actually appear for you to that audit. Now, I don't know about you folks, but probably the most ghastly thing you can ever receive in business would be the dreaded audit notice. It stifles your whole being, and then you got to figure out who's going to do it, and you got to put all this stuff together, and it becomes a maddening nightmare. And then, God forbid, you actually owe money. But the system is a closed system because we can handle all of that. And over the years, I've seen the same mistakes and the same errors repeatedly. And I just want to, that's why the system exists, is to put a stop to all that. And the whole system was built from the very beginning to be IRS compliant. So we're playing by their rules.
Okay, last question from the audience here.
Yeah, I have a question about your user acquisition strategy and then the current amount of clients that you guys are working with.
Well, we can only take about 150 of you right now.
That's today.
So if you want to line up in the corner, we'll get you going. Honestly, our strategy so far has been to utilize the folks that we know to come to an event like this, to meet startups. We're in the Crossroads District. We've had a lot of opportunity there. And to be honest with you, those are the people that we associate well with, that we like, that we want to be our clients, and many of them are in the room today. So right now our strategy is grassroots, on the ground, us talking to people. Obviously the next step is to expand that into a more marketing function. But so far, we're busy, so we haven't had to do that and spend money on that. So that's coming down the pipe, but it'll be all the standard marketing, SEO, SEM, big billboards next to big buildings downtown, things like that. So, and then to answer your question, one of the nice things we had this season was a good tax season, so it allowed us to get a good base of finances to help us through the year and help us grow, and that's what we've been doing. So we need to add a few more staff members, and we just keep growing, and that's what we're doing right now.
So while we have you on stage, again, you're in front of a group of about 230 or so people. What can we do as a community to help you guys in your business needs?
I'll let you take that one first.
Sure.
Then I'll...
We need your cash. No, I'm just... I'm kind of kidding. I really do need your cash. Joe and I we're now at the place where we need to do the next step in our app. And so with that comes a considerable amount of expense and development time. That would also improve our systems, which would make us even more streamlined. We're able to function better with the changes that we want to make, but that takes money. So we're looking for one big investor that can help us take this to the next level. And so that's kind of where we're at. If you know anybody like that, please let us know.
Mine would be a little bit different, and that is that there isn't another system that I know of that exists right now anywhere in the United States. So what we want to do is get you onboarded, but ultimately for self-employed people, it is a godsend because I've seen the challenges that self-employeds face day to day, and this really goes through and systematically eliminates those challenges so that at the end of the month, you've got an income and expense statement, we've got your records all in hand, you know, just a couple clicks of a button, you can find out what you spent, where you spent it, and then you can actually drill down and physically see the physical copy of that receipt. So if you needed a copy of it to take something back or access it via the phone while you're out running around, et cetera, and so on. So ultimately, it all closes at the end of the year by doing all of the accounting needs that you need, and then at the end of the year closing it so that you can prepare the tax returns. And it just eliminates those gaps that you would otherwise spend thousands of dollars on in lost tax deductions. We just close the loop and get everything done from A to Z.
All right, thank you guys. Give them a round of applause. Great job. One quick last announcement before we get out of here. I want to just make a quick plug for a former 1 Million Cups presenter that their Indiegogo just went live, their campaign. So Fan Addict, make sure you go check it out and pull them up because they just went live to support them. So we'll see you guys here next week, same time, same place. Thanks.